Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Today, let's look at the whole matter of the indigenous people of Biafra leader. That organization doesn't exist anymore.
Proscribed.
It's been proscribed. Nevertheless, as you know, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu is in court. In fact, is on bail, and yesterday he was not in court, and according to his lawyer, he didn't know why his client wasn't in court. I'll tell you what. Well, first of all, my guest this morning, Chief Dr. Fasi Yusuf, a lawyer and communications consultant, is in the house, as is Mr. Evans Ufele, a lawyer as well and public affairs analyst. Now, before we get into the story, just to sort of refresh your memory, we'll just play it for you again, just to summarize the entire affair, and then we'll come back to studio. Okay, as I hear now, contrary to my expectation, we don't have the tape. But the long story short, we'll get hold of the tape for you. The meat of the matter is that the judge said that those that had stood surety for him would have to come and give a good account of themselves, and the options were very, very clear. There's no way I entertain the applications that seem to be before the court without the production of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu. Now, let's look at this. As I said, Chief Dr. Fasi Yusuf and Evans Ufele. Dr. Yusuf, it's a straightforward enough affair, but as you know, now Senator Abaribe, who is one of those who stood surety, have 100 million naira each. 3 of them have therefore come up with 300 million. One of the conditions is that, look, you produce him forfeit, your 100 million naira. This is as should be, but how is this going to really happen?
Well, if our legal system is anything to go by, then we cannot escape that. See, but let's just look at the matter itself. It's a criminal matter. They're being charged for felony, and it also has a political dimension, and therefore they were able to attract people of substantial means to stand surety for them. And what is the essence of bail? See, the essence of bail is to enable or to guarantee the appearance of an accused person or accused persons to face trial. So if they are not available to face trial, then the case goes to no issue. So what you're having now is that some people have been charged to court. The principal accused is not available to face trial. And there have been a lot of furore about his whereabouts. I remember the former governor of Abia State, also Kalu, saying that Nnamdi Kalu escaped from this country through Malaysia to UK. And from what we know, it's a citizen of the United Kingdom, so he has a dual nationality. So with a UK passport or not, once he's a UK citizen, he could be given travel papers to get to UK, but we are not too sure. But that was what Kalu said. But unfortunately, nobody has debunked that statement. So we want to believe that it's not within this country. If he's within this country, then he's putting his bail bond, his bail in jeopardy.
In jeopardy. Okay.
And not only that, the 3 people who stood surety for him, he's putting them in a sort of quagmire.
In a very, very difficult situation. Okay, Mr. Feli, when Mr. Kanu's lawyer sought to say that, look, we don't know where he is. This was after the army had,
the invasion of his
invaded his house. The judge wasn't having any of that. He said, no, just limit yourself. Could you explain that a bit? Because we are all here, and the news happened, but the judge wasn't going to tolerate any of that kind of. What exactly was going on there?
Yes, because it was after he had been granted bail that the military invasion took place. In fact, the military is alleging obstruction.
Yes.
why
Yeah,
IPOB is alleging invasion.
Yes.
So there have been counter allegations to that effect.
His lawyer is trying to link his absence to that particular
Yes,
incident.
he
So,
said,
in short, ask the army to produce him.
yeah, but the Justice Nyaku sitting on that matter said that that is not before the court. You understand that the essence of bail is for the surety to guarantee the appearance of the defendant in court, okay? And in doing that, that should be stricto sensu the essence or the reason why the bail was granted in the first place. So now if you are now coming up and asking a third party to produce, that's a different argument entirely. And that is why your lordship decided not to allow that in. Because if you want to go into that voyage itself, you begin to talk about the issue of an intervention, okay, that made it difficult for him to come. Or that is a different argument entirely. But the real issue here now is that those who stood as surety for Nnamdi Kanu, they are the ones who have been given the responsibility by the court, because the court went further to say, take the options available to you, forfeit this, produce him in a further date and all that. And they opted for a further date within which they will get him, even though the lawyer to Senator Abaribe had said, okay, discharge, my client want to be discharged of that responsibility. And your lordship said no, that you have to produce him first, which is your primary responsibility, before the court can consider the application to get you discharged from that responsibility. So I think the judiciary, the prosecution, the defendants, we all have to be careful, because here we're about to lay precedent. And you know, when precedents are laid, even in the Supreme Court, when they lay precedent, when they want to pull out from it, it takes so much intellectual exertion and explanation for society to understand this is the reason we took this decision in the past, and this is why we're pulling out from it. You understand? And for the argument as to the military invasion, okay, that is also a different case, because if you look at Section 217 and Section 218 of the Constitution, it spelled out how the military should be used in issues like that. And if there's any action to that effect, I had expected the IPOB leaders to have gone to court to that effect.
Very interesting.
Because it might not be, you cannot now bring that into this case and say, okay, because the military went there, that is why you should not be able to produce him. You should have gone to court to question and ask the court to interpret the legal position as regards how the military should be used, and whether or not the military has violated the citizens to that effect.
And whether or not, Fasi, the military actually has Nnamdi Kanu in their possession at all. So, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting the way this is going, especially from non-legal people.
As I said, you know, you also have the political dimension to it. Remember that the governor of Abia State, when the alleged invasion force took place, the military gave a different fashion that it was due to Operation Python Dance. But when the governor was not comfortable with what was happening within his territory, he cried out. And the Southeast governors also met over the matter. And they appealed to the authorities, and they got the assurance of the authorities that they will be pulling out. So they pulled out. Again, there are some skirmishes here and there. They came back to the street and address. And, you know, one or two, where there was some video playing around that they were being tortured, they were being humiliated, they were being, and all that. So we may not really know, because of the political dimension, as I said, there are two sides to this matter. The legal dimension and the political dimension. People trying to claim sovereignty, and the government of the day saying that, look, according to the Constitution, you cannot do this. In other jurisdictions, there could be ways of a section like we talk about the defunct Soviet Union, how people could pull out of an arrangement, like what we had in Scotland, was it last year or 2 years back. But in this particular case, our constitution is very rigid. it makes it very difficult. And don't forget that those people already there at the top in government, it will be difficult for them to want to really release part of the territory called Nigeria. If you look at what happened in the case of Bakassi and all the rest, of course that took international dimension and all the rest. And the federal government bringing politics into it, or perhaps trying to remind us, I've been playing the tape, the interview Ojukwu granted, that a second attempt was unnecessary. And perhaps people are talking about destruction and all the rest. So what you have now is the government not wanting to listen and try, using the constitution to back up its stand, and the people saying, look, this is what we want. And again, we've allowed this matter to snowball into what we now have, to the extent that we're having the silence of the graveyard.
Okay, well, let's. I think that report is ready now. That sort of summarizes it all very succinctly.
The scheduled hearing of the criminal case against the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, resumed at the Federal High Court, Abuja, with the main accused person not present in court. This, among other issues, prompted prosecution team led by Surety of Mazi to ask the trial judge, Justice Binta Nyako, to revoke the bail granted to Kanu on April 24th, having gone against his bail conditions. Surety also urged the judge to issue a bench warrant on Kanu and to other his three sureties, including a serving Senator Abaribe, to appear in court and show cause why they should not be committed to prison for Kanu's absence in court. In response to Kanu's whereabouts, his lawyer Ifeanyi Ejiofor denied knowledge of his client's whereabouts, claiming instead that the alleged military invasion of the defendant's house was responsible for his absence. Meanwhile, a counsel appeared for Abaribe with an application asking for an order of the court to allow the senator to withdraw as a surety to Kanu on the ground that the accused did not inform him of his whereabouts. In a short ruling, the trial judge agreed with prosecution and ordered the sureties to appear in court to explain the whereabouts of the IPOB leader or forfeit their bail bond.
It's either a defendant appears in court when he's on bail, or his sureties must be invited to show cause, or failure of which they will have to forfeit the bail bond. And of course, the court will make a necessary order when the time comes in respect of the defendant who defaulted in appearing before the court.
It's not the matter came up, and traditionally the matter cannot go on in absentia.
So bail conditions. Surety also urged the judge to issue a bench warrant on Kanu and to order his three sureties, including a serving Senator Abaribe, to appear in court and show cause why they should not be committed to prison for Kanu's absence in court. In response to Kanu's whereabouts, his lawyer Ifeanyi Ejiofor denied knowledge of his client's whereabouts, claiming instead that the alleged military invasion of the defendant's house was responsible for his absence. Meanwhile, a counsel appeared for Abaribe with an application asking for an order of the court to allow the senator to withdraw as a surety to Kanu on the ground that the accused did not inform him of his whereabouts. In a short ruling, the trial judge agreed with prosecution and ordered the sureties to appear in court to explain the whereabouts of the IPOB leader or forfeit their bail bond.
It's either a defendant appears in court when he's on bail, or his sureties must be invited to show cause, or failure of which they will have to forfeit the bail bond. And of course, the court will make a necessary order when the time comes in respect of the defendant who defaulted in appearing before the court.
It's not the matter came up, and traditionally the matter cannot go on in absentia. So, and the court want to find out where he is. And we told the court that we have filed an application compelling the Chiwami staff to produce him before this court. And that application has been slated for hearing on the 2nd of November 2017. It's coming up next November 2nd. So I informed the court. And I also informed the court about the danger about making pronouncement that may preempt what will be the outcome of that suit. And also the court actually ordered the surety to come and explain further his whereabouts.
So is it safe to say that the case has been adjourned to November 20th for further hearing?
Okay, so Mr. Philly, there we have it. As you know, Dr. Yusuf is saying, it has its dimensions. There are political aspects to all of this. But the judge will just the court will concern itself with what exactly is before it. So whereas it might seem, maybe to some unlearned mind, as lawyers put them, that look, these are, it's a totally different ballgame. Not so from the point of view of the law. But this is exactly what the court would have wanted to prevent from the very, very beginning, or the whole system. We want to be sure that when we next need to talk about these kind of matters, this person, this Nigerian that has the right to bail, you know, will be available. And some people pledge that, look, yeah, hold us responsible. So it's possible to now take it very, very strictly and say, look, you failed on that particular one. Senator Abaribe, well, he's a serving senator, that's why his name is getting mentioned, but there are also equally important people in society who could come up with 100 million naira to pledge. And that is now in danger of being lost. The whole argument you've explained of, can you please discharge me from this suretyship, says, yeah, we will look at that after you produce Kano.
Yeah, because that is a natural thing to do, because the matter itself, it's not just that it has a political dimension and a legal dimension. It also has a moral dimension. Okay?
Moral?
Yeah, it does have a moral dimension, because there are people who hold the view or the sentiments that the military obstructed, that the federal government obstructed the trial process by going there, having known or knowing fully well that this guy is standing trial for treasonable felony. There are people who hold that view, okay? Even though that may not constitute the legal view, but it's important to stress that for those who hold that view, okay, the lawyer has said that he has brought an application before a court that will be heard. That in that application is praying that the court compel the military to produce him. So until the court hears that and decide on whether the military will go and produce him or not, that is.
Does the military have him?
That's the question. The court. There's going to be a counter affidavit now from the other side, definitely from the military, the lawyer from the military to bring you bring your defense to that effect, and perhaps they too will be raising questions and all that. But it is the court that will determine what that issue is. Whatever the court determines, then the matter is put to rest on that ground. And if anybody wants to go further, then they can go further. But there are people who hold that moral view, and I don't want us to just slip through and not talk about that moral view emanating from IPOB, you understand? But the legal standpoint has been stated already. You are on bail, you have sureties, your sureties must produce you. If they cannot produce you, they have to forfeit their bond, or you know, the court has given them time to do that between now and November 20th. You understand? Then the political dimension to this is how I think the matter may be finally resolved, because politically there are a lot of interest in this, in the two sides, okay? So now the two sides will have to begin to consider whatever it is they want to go about. And as for the learned senior who said that the Constitution completely does not provide for secession, I think there is an aspect of our law which made that provision, and that's the Charter on African Charter on People and Human Rights. You understand? Article 20 of that law is a law that is ratified by the National Assembly, form part of our existing law. And that Article 20 of that law, if IPOD had gone through the process laid down there, perhaps they would have had a better chance. They would have had more support, more international support to that effect. But going on the streets and to obstruct and block and create create instances that will whip up sentiment and try to, you understand, breach public peace. You understand? There's no way a responsible government will not send.
Be all of that as it may, indeed. As you said earlier, Fassi, it's not strictly legal. There are also political connotations to the whole thing. Yeah, I understand all of that, but in fact, to sort of underline this, when you look at these bail conditions that were, that were laid down when Mr. Kanu was going to get his bail, one of the more easily discernible ones was that you're not allowed to have meetings, public meetings, address the press, address this, and that was flouted just about every time imaginable. You never hardly saw Mr. Kanu alone. Everybody, again, that's one of those elephants that, as human beings, we sometimes say there is nothing in front of us. So people were treading on eggshells all around the whole matter. So this does promise to be one of those ones that, even though it's in the legal arena, is going to be more political than legal.
Yes, it was the political dimension that made him to be released on bail in the first instance. Don't forget that there were 3 other people there, still incarcerated.
He was released for medical on medical
compassionate ground.
Compassionate ground. The other ones also have health issues.
They also have health issues.
There.
It was because, I think, the judiciary, sensing how volatile that case was, and the sentiments attached to that case. That was why. Otherwise, what would make the likes of the Deputy Senate President, the 5 governors, to be interested in the case?
Exactly. You have governors.
Yes, I mean, a criminal case is a criminal case. But because of the political connotations, you remember, I mean...
is this as it has to be? Because...
No, it should not
because people are observing. People who are not politically minded or politicians, they can see the law being flouted.
It should not be. You remember, this should not be the first time we're having this type of case in Nigeria. Starting from our law, treasonable felony.
Yeah.
So, we will not know, perhaps until tomorrow, what really happened. But he was charged for treasonable felony. And his supporters said, no, there was no way he could have been involved. I remember that was the beginning of what we are experiencing in Nigeria today. Remember from that scenario we had Operation Wet here, things were falling apart, things they never came together again until the military came in January 1966 and all that. Also remember during the Civil War, if Ojukwu had remained, he would have been treated as one. Would have been tried for treasonable felony. So this particular case too, being a treasonable felony case, is bound to attract political dimensions, emotional support, or disapproval, or what have you. But the point being made now is that when he was released on bail, and people were crying, what about the other 3 people there? Are they not facing the same charges? But somehow they forgot them there. And also you have some of them. One of them is an engineer.
Indeed, let me bring Chinedu in. Chinedu is in Ibadan, Oyo State. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead with your comment, please.
My contribution on this matter is that these people that are fighting for IPOB of 18. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
And they don't know what they are doing. Because as I'm talking to you now, I just came back from Maiduguri. I know what is happening here because of the crisis of this Boko Haram of 18. So those people, they don't know what they are doing, honestly speaking. Because if whatever they need, they demand, they should have told us, look at what they demand for the Nigerians, and look at their problem for the Nigerians. If it is what the federal government will look into it, they will look into it and know how to solve these situations. Not that by agitating for head about of something of that nature.
Okay. It's IPOB that doesn't know what they're doing. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
The proscribed IPOB.
The proscribed IPOB, that doesn't know what they're doing. And that's a different story altogether, yes. As you're well aware.
Yes, as I was saying, you see, IPOB itself went beyond the bound of reasoning.
Normalcy.
And they brought to themselves what they are now experiencing. For example, they said there will be no election in Anambra State. It means they're waging war against the country.
Yeah.
It's you start having military camouflage, you start having mountain guard of honor and all the rest.
Yes.
And the young man seen himself as a president in waiting.
So all of this was very, very provocative.
There was no way the government of the day will be so docile as not to react, although they allowed the matter to drag on for too long.
Yes, and even as they have reacted because of what you refer to as the political aspects of the case, it does appear that we are walking on eggshells around the whole affair. And I'm speaking in particular about the blatant way in which he disrespected, all the conditions of the bill, most glaring of which was no public meetings. No, I think they even limited him to so many people.
Yes, he actually flouted, even though some part of the bail condition was unrealistic.
Yes.
But he wholesomely flouted it. He threw caution
And
to
this
the
was
wind.
done in full public glare.
Yes, and it's not acceptable because the law is sacred. The judges who make this pronouncement, they make the pronouncement in the interest of the nation, not in the interest of anybody. And in the interest of the law, yes.
in the interest of the integrity of the law.
Yes, public policy, public peace, and all
otherwise,
that.
if
That
there are
is
no
how
rules, then how do we
the
run our
society
affairs?
will be in anarchy. Everybody can just pull out one day and begin to create his own country within a country.
Okay, Mr. Jackson in Umuahia, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Please go ahead.
I want to comment on the absence of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu in the court yesterday.
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
I want to thank Mr. Stig Yusuf, the barrister, the legal advisor, who was saying something about the moral aspect of it. So I want to say this. I think I did the more here, and I know what happened at that moment. And I know how Nnamdi Kanu has violated the law according to what the court said to him, what he will do and what he will not do. He has violated it, and I'm expecting the court to, as soon as he arrives in the court, to arrest him back, to re-arrest him back. But to my greatest surprise, as a good Nigerian, and as a citizen of, and as somebody who lives in Nigeria, to our greatest surprise, we start seeing a lot of troops of soldiers coming into a very long way here, and a lot of things started happening that took a lot of lives. But in other way around, I want to say something about Senator Abaribe. You should stand firm on his short-sightedness, not deviating, not running away from what he said or what he has written or what he has agreed to do. He should stand firm in search of Nnamdi Kanu, and also the former also should be invited to the court to give a good explanation on how Nnamdi Kanu traveled through Malaysia to London. So, in all these my contributions, I want us to advise the people of Igbo land to be calm and dwell peacefully in Nigeria, believing that tomorrow will be far better.
All right, then. Thank you very much for calling in, Jackson. Okay, we'll just go on a quick break. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. So where exactly is Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the proscribed IPOB? Nobody really knows. Yes, we're hearing that he might be in the UK, haven't...
Or he might have been kidnapped.
Traveled via, via Malaysia, or that, is he with the army? Nobody has made any such suggestion. People are linking it to his disappearance to when the army, was in his area. I think the words invasion have been used. So all of these things are going on. Nobody exactly knows where he is, but he didn't show up in court. And 3 sureties are now find themselves in a quagmire. They have to produce him. I think we have a call now coming in from Mr. Abubakar in Kano. Good morning.
Yes, yes, good morning. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Even though, hello?
Yes,
hello?
we can hear you, we can hear you.
All right. I was in primary school when Biafra war took place. And I know the devastating effect and trauma we went through. So I am surprised that a single person can come and make a trouble that will cause the disintegration of this nation. I have friends with Igbos, and these Igbos are very enterprising and hardworking. And I wonder, one person would come and change their mind to cause trouble in this nation. We are united and we want us to remain united. But unfortunately, some of the elders that went through this Biafra war and saw the devastating effect that women and children went through, they rallied around him, they supported him, they even bailed or offered themselves to bail him with a large sum of money. So I was surprised. How can somebody come single-handedly and twist your brain as if you don't have brains to think of? We are not animals, we are not fools. We want Nigeria to be in peace. And those who are politically behind this, should be called to answer. If proper investigation is being taken place, you cannot have a government within a government. It's never possible. Okay. And this is terrible, and the consequences will be a felony which will lead, even though I'm not a lawyer, to a jail term of a lifetime. So I am calling all the evils that are very enterprising and hardworking to rethink.
All right, then. Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Abubakar. I appreciate your call. Where is, as far as the courts are concerned, where is this defendant?
Excuse me, Yori, you see, the whole thing baffles me about the type of security apparatus we have in this country. At one breath, the Army was involved, the Air Force was involved, the Navy was involved, the police was involved, and of course the SSS was also involved. So all these 5 agencies, how could a single person live? I think my own little knowledge and my own background of security says this man should have been placed on surveillance. So if you could get the whole army to really invade his premises or his street or his town or whatever, how could you now escape? Was it another case of a DSP, Alamesia?
Well, this is the problem.
Who escaped and not how could he?
You spoke about political dimensions to this, that it's not a strict...
Okay, was he given a part to go?
This then is the question.
And the question as to his escape,
there is complicity.
There is question as to whether he escaped or not. It's not even visible. Because if we use the word escape, we would have concluded he sneaked away. His whereabouts is not known. But there is no trace as to. But I don't believe Kanu. I don't believe Kanu, the former governor. Why I don't believe him is because his assertion is not backed by any form of evidence. No graphic description of how he left or where he is, and whether he has gone there to verify the veracity of what he is saying. There's nothing like that. So let's limit it to the fact that his whereabouts is unknown.
Sorry for interrupting you. Even look at the point of surveillance. I mean, it's such a high-profile, citizen. Defendant, and how can all agencies be interested in him, and he just
evaporate
like a puff of smoke? Jude is calling in. Good morning, Jude.
Hello, good morning, sorry.
Okay, please go ahead.
You make calling very correct. The calling is and the case is there.
Oh, we're delighted to have you.
Hello, please, I just want to chip in my own about Kanu and Co.
Where is he?
Yeah, now, you are the intervening factor.
He's where?
Now, the intervening factor. The army invaded him, and that is done very well. And I was noticing, the Korean had no man surveillance that he was taking. Yes? The condition has changed, and it came in. Yes, and whatever was at the standard opportunity. So, I will not hold Abaribe responsible if I were again. Because Andy came and sculpted the the condition is no longer as before when the was taken.
Okay.
But you know, someone of God from Kano, you're talking about the elders from the north. What are the elders done about Boko Haram? What are the elders done about killing people in Jos? And people are keeping quiet, talking about nothing happened. So this country, where are we going to? I don't know that in North. I was looking in the driveway in Plateau. The next will be killed, children and women. I don't know that in North, calling the people. And then women have don't say anything. How are we going to? That's my own contribution. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Jude, for calling in. I think Jude, among others, other matters, made the point that, well, the conditions have changed from those that existed when Mr. Kanu was given the bail and with, of course, the bail conditions. But you've explained that, look, let's not mix these things up. The law operates in a certain way, without sentiment and all of that. The matter before it right now is that Kanu has to be produced, and if not so, then there will be these, eventualities. Now, one of the main ones is that those who stood surety for him, I think somebody even called in saying that Senator
Abaribe
stand firm.
He should stand firm and not seek to extricate himself.
That will be Senator Abaribe's prerogative.
Exactly.
Let
me take Maxwell from Ghana. Let me bring Maxwell from Ghana into the conversation. Good morning, Maxwell.
Good morning, Uncle Yore, and good morning to the gentleman in the studio there.
Thank you for calling in.
Yes, sir. Judging from, I have been monitoring all these things that is happening in Nigeria, concerning the army and the way they keep their security towards the citizens in Nigeria. It is not fair. In fact, I thank God that I left the active service for a long time now. That time, we were still having our respect and integrity intact. But today, the way the federal government is using the military, the army, air force, and the navy, in fact, a time will come in Nigeria when they will become as common as, the police force today in Nigeria.
You are speaking, Maxwell, as an ex-serviceman yourself.
Yes, please.
Please continue.
Okay, sir. So that is the problem. As for Nnamdi Kanu, I have took part in so many wars, more than 5 of them, and they were all deadly. In fact, I am not a proponent of war, and I do not subscribe to Nnamdi Kanu. In fact, I tried to follow him when he was doing what he was doing, but immediately he started attacking, setting up some roadblocks or whatever. That was the time I moved myself from him, because that is not the way to fight for, let's say, self-determination.
Maxwell, I beg your pardon, Maxwell, as an ex-serviceman, we just spoke here about, look, a high-profile person is going to be under surveillance, ordinarily we would imagine, by all sorts of agencies. So how can we be saying now that nobody knows where he is?
Uncle Yori, the only thing I would tell you today is that, judging from my own point of view as an ex-serviceman before, if we really want to get at you, if let's say an allegation is made on you and you have been, charged, tried, and given bail, so if we really want to get at you, we'll use the soldiers. We will just come and play around your area just to see how you are going to. And once you retaliate by pebbling or throwing bottles, we'll come to you. We'll use that as a link to get at you. And that was what the army did that day. It doesn't necessarily the army going to his residence. What was the police people doing? That is the work of the police, police organization, not the army.
Okay.
The army comes in when it is, out of reach of the police.
Okay. But the fact that in Nigeria now we seem to be saying nobody knows, quote unquote, nobody knows where Mr. Kanu is. And more importantly, the court cannot find him. His defendant is saying, I don't know where my client is. And we're all playing along.
Uncle Yori, the law is that once you have the sureties who have to produce him dead or alive. But the morality also sets in what made him to run away from his residence.
All right, then. Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Maxwell. Very, very much more importantly, Mr. Senator Abaribe and his co-shorty, people are going to be live. They're going to have to cough up 300 million.
I think his counsel knows that what he's trying to do is an exercise in futility. Because, I mean, if you cannot produce the person is too shorty for, then he will take his place.
But it is not.
There is a but.
It is not the law that the shorty will serve the penalty of a defendant.
No.
But that he must show cause. Okay. Then where
he cannot,
where the shorty facilitates the escape
of
the defendant,
which
then he can now be charged for different.
Okay.
It is also possible that it could be remanded in custody until the next hearing, hoping that the defendant himself will appear before his fate is decided.
Oh dear, oh dear.
That's correct.
So all of these can be done. In fact, sometimes you see the unofficial version of it where they're looking for someone, they grab hold of his wife or his mother.
No, that is incorrect.
That is incorrect, but that is also done.
The Administration of Criminal Justice Act now has,
So the other one that is incorrect is illegal.
Yeah, that is now illegal for you to arrest someone in the place of another. You understand? So
it's different, in this case.
But in this case,
I said, okay, Yori is my friend. He's studying a case of a treasonable felony.
I beg your pardon. George from Ibejuleki, good morning.
Good morning, Okuya.
Thank you for calling, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. This scenario I've been playing out. If you watch the scenario now, we are the Mr. President. So, this thing, the politics have hijacking it. It's about the court, the judiciary, and the political people that are using it for politics. If you want this thing, what Army did, they would have asked this guy to report court. Because the law has said that in Nnamdi Kanu house, break the bailout
the bail conditions. Hello, Mr. George.
So they would have allowed him to report for court. They will arrest him back, not to invade the house. Because the shorty now say that you don't know where he's about. Had it been that Nnamdi Kanu have been kidnapped, can you order the shorty to provide him? Because you don't know where he's about now. So, when this is happening, they make Mr. Kanu to be somebody who nobody knows him.
Okay.
Because advanced the federal government to calm this issue by ignoring this man. You remember what the former president did, Obasanjo, during, if we are the Mr. President. So, this thing, the politics have hijacking it. It's about the court, the judiciary, and the political people that are using it for politics. If you want this thing, what Army did, they would have asked this guy to report court. Because the law has said that in Nnamdi Kanu house, break the bailout
the bail conditions. Hello, Mr. George.
So they would have allowed him to report for court. They will arrest him back, not to invade the house. Because the shorty now say that you don't know where he's about. Had it been that Nnamdi Kanu have been kidnapped, can you order the shorty to provide him? Because you don't know where he's about now. So, when this thing is happening, they made Mr. Kanu to be somebody who nobody knows him.
Okay.
Because they advised the federal government to calm this issue by ignoring this man. You remember what the former president did, Obasanjo, during Niger Delta, when the Kobo come out. They call him. They dialogue with him. They calm the tension down. The protesters, nobody come out again to protest.
All right then.
So this one now, the whole issue, the politics have hijacked it. Is behind the politics and the federal government. Nobody knows the man way out. Forgetting what the Audio is saying.
All right. Thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate your call. We'll go on a quick break now. Stay with us. Welcome back. Home stretch now. So where is Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the proscribed IPOB? There are those who believe this was always going to happen anyhow. There were skeptics who, Nigerians, experienced Nigerians in the sense that when I say experience, knowing how we roll. Let me just use the youth, knowing how we roll. This is not unexpected to some of them. Arguably, this could not have happened. Mr. Kanu could not have disappeared into thin air without some sort of complicity. Look, too many people, surveillance. Everybody's interested in him. The police, the army, SSS, the DSS, every SSS, and the man still walks. I mean,
I think the security agencies will need to provide more information to this effect. Because even if you look at it both front and back, they are still the ones...
Nobody can escape from the security agencies of this country if they're interested in him.
Yes, so they are still the one, because the last time he was seen was in his house in that particular location.
That time was seen by you and I.
Yes.
And those people see much more than what you and I see.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that we need explanation from them as regards his whereabouts.
Okay. Mr. Adesina from Ojo, good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Uncle Yori, I will start summarization this morning from Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. They say, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee.
Okay.
And also the Bible says, where there is no vision, the people perish. When Nnamdi Kanu started this campaign at the first instance, you knew, and if you have opportunity to have listened to the president when he came on air to condemn that act, somebody trying to push for secession in our country. And I can watch from that media chat of the president that he knew what war is in a nation. He knew he himself was a commander that he participated in that Biafra war. And for somebody now to not champion a competition, he knew how dangerous it is. Now, I want you to know, Yori, when we miss a situation at the foundation level, we are going to have a bigger problem in our hearts. And the president insisted that this guy should be kept. Even when he was brought to the prison, you see all repentance. And now look at it now. The army, the lawyer is saying that the army should look for Kanu. Then when the whereabouts is not known, then the senator again that people stand for shorty for him. He's saying that he's now withdrawing. And when at this moment, if it is my own person, I will not support somebody campaign and see all the person that we're following this guy. See, Uncle Yori, I want us to know that the unity of this country, is still non-negotiable. If somebody has seen war, people who have seen war, you will never pray for 1 second. You will never support anybody that wants to succeed in this country. In unity with us, the unity of this nation is still non-negotiable. And for the cause where Kanu stands for, I watch this guy, and for no reason, I don't expect anybody to support him. Not even one elder from the eastern part of the country.
All right, then.
Now, Uncle Yarina, we are in a situation that they should look for Kanu, where Kanu is. Because without Kanu, nobody has seen him. So the senator now must look for him.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Mr. Adesina. When we say nobody knows where Kanu is, of course, that's not true. Yes. It's not true that nobody knows where Kanu is. That's
Its
just
whereabouts is unknown to us, at least.
well, it is just unknown to the court and also unknown to his lawyer. But Kanu could not have disappeared into thin air.
What I will say is that the whereabouts of Kanu is not known to the public.
That's so. Yeah, I'll take that.
And before the court too, it is not known. But the point to be made is this: I do not subscribe to the idea that the unity of this country is not negotiable. It is.
That's very wrong.
Yeah? And again,
I don't know why people
for example, now, I mean, you can say that.
I saw a picture of one of them calling for a referendum.
It's not casting gold. Even the Constitution, as I said, I've said this on
yes, indeed.
That look, it's not Constitution.
Okay.
Constitution.
Mr. Yakub, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, sir.
All right then.
And then good morning to the two wise men in the studio.
So where is Nnamdi Kanu?
Nnamdi Kanu, nowhere is about of himself. You see, let me say this. The question here this morning is about Senator Abaribe.
Well, it's really about where Mr. Kanu is, and it's only because we don't know where he is that Senator Abaribe now.
I think the question is already answered. Senator Abaribe should know where about of his Nnamdi Kanu. Why am I saying that? The lawyer to Senator Abaribe said yesterday in the court that Senator Abaribe came to the court to withdraw of surety to Nnamdi Kanu because Nnamdi Kanu was not telling him whereabouts of himself. Does it mean that when Nnamdi Kanu is blocking the road, when Nnamdi Kanu is addressing more than 10 people, is Senator Abaribe know that before Nnamdi Kanu do all those things? That is point number one. That is why Senator Abaribe should know where Nnamdi Kanu is. If he does not know where Nnamdi Kanu is, you go for it because you know the kind of person you want to do surety for in the right place. Because before you do as a surety for somebody, you should know in and out of that very particular person that you do not go beyond of the bail order. Now that the guy has already flogged all the bail order, Senator Abaribe should go and answer the court and then and maybe the court should sentence Senator Abaribe because it does not punish. Another person will shut up tomorrow and then stand for somebody that he knows he can flog all the court order. Now, the man, we don't know whereabouts of Nnamdi Kanu, but for me, Senator Abaribe know where Kanu is.
All right then, thank you very much.
The caller should also know that politicians are actors of convenience.
Yes.
Okay, Abaribe did that to get support. And now it's hard for him.
Yeah.
He's trying to
He's getting his hands burnt.
So
he's getting his hands
burnt.
But you see, we can't make a fool of the whole judicial and legal process.
That was the political dimension to it.
That's the political
ordinarily, people like Kremadu should not get involved. Abaribe should not get involved. But because they knew that, look,
political capital.
populist act by them. But speaking seriously, what the scenario we're having now is an indictment of our security apparatus. I mean, what is the SSS doing? What is the military intelligence doing? What is police doing?
That is why that's the big problem here, that all those surveillance eyes, how this
Operation
man
Python
went,
dance, the
all of them,
police display and all the rest.
How will one man be the entire security surveillance network?
You see a needle?
That is why it's also not safe to conclude that he left.
You don't know where he is.
Yes, it's not
that
safe.
Whole business about his
it's
being
not,
abroad
it's not
could
safe.
easily be a red herring. We don't know. Nobody knows anything.
Or maybe,
nobody in the public.
Maybe my friend Kanu is somewhere.
He's your friend?
It's our friend now.
It's our friend.
We cannot deny him.
Okay.
It's our friend. Maybe somewhere now trying to think of another thing or whatever.
Well, thank you very much.
Because all of a sudden, IPOB was prescribed, nothing hard. There seems to be peace in the land.
Yes, exactly. And now nobody is noticing the elephant that is directly in front of us in this little room that we are in. Yes. And this is part of the problem, I think, that gives Nigerians sometimes contortions. Say, look, on the one hand, the man was routinely infringing his bail conditions. That one went on. We all saw all of that. Now, the next court date, the man is nowhere to be found, and nobody knows where he is.
Because he knew his bail will be revoked.
The intervening factor also had a contributory effect to that.
Okay, so we have to leave it. The wheels of justice, they grind not just slowly, but sometimes in a very, very complicated way that almost negate the written aspects of the law. So I'm just sorry for anybody who is sitting down in a classroom now studying all of this.
May I just ask you now?
Yeah, very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. Because
Can you just summarize what you have achieved this morning?
Well, I think what we have achieved this morning is to say that the system, there is much more to this than meets the eye.
Yes.
I think that much we can say.
Security agencies should explain to us more.
All the security, surveillance, and intelligence, how it disappeared.
Everybody,
all of them.
Every security agency dancing there.
It's a very, very complicated affair.
Maybe they overdance to the extent that they don't see anybody going.
So we shall probably, that will be the subject of another program. Thank you very much, Chief Dr. Fasi Yusuf and Mr. Evans Ofeli, lawyers both. Thank you, gentlemen, for your perspective.
Our pleasure.
Okay, so that's our program. Join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Falani. Bye-bye for now.
Welcome to Forsville Luxury Hotel. At Forsville Luxury Hotel, we offer excellent service. Our rooms have all the necessary facilities to make your stay comfortable and memorable. You will also have access to internet service, breakfast, 24-hour power supply, full air condition, free international calls, free tire pumping service, and free car battery charge. So what are you waiting for? Quickly visit Forsville Luxury Hotel. We are located at number 1 Adeline Obamishile off Raji Rasaki Road, First Estate, Amuwo, Odofin Stack, Lagos. For more information or reservation, please call us on 08075787135 or 08099900601. You can also take advantage of our online ongoing promo at www.forsvillehotel.com to make your reservation and payment for your favorite room, which attracts a discount rate. Please note, rooms are reserved based on first come, first serve. Forsville Luxury Hotel, experience the home of comfort. They come.